Luke. Hi. Luke, account executive at Reveal and co-founder at SalesCast, and will lead us through mastering outbound tactics, a guide for A's to outbound. Sorry, outbook your SDRs. We are all ears, Luke.
Fantastic. Appreciate the intro, Max. It's always tough to follow B-Law whenever you have one of these types of presentations, but we chatted a couple years ago about maximum activities, and that really changed my perspective on how I do outbound, and hopefully we can tailor this into the presentation we're going to cover today. So let me see if I can share out my screen here, the most dangerous worlds in tech. Let's pull this up real quick. And hopefully y'all can see my screen here. Give me 1 second, actually, drop this down. All right. So Bilal was talking about falling in love with the process. And that's absolutely true. That is something you need to do. But what's the point of the process? It's to get you to those results. We're in sales for a variety of reasons, but the most common one I found is helping customers and making money. So where do we find those? It's by finding customers to talk to. When I talk to most people, they try to make it super complicated. What is outbound? Well, I got to look at my TAM. I got to look at my ICP. Are we going to put them into an ABM motion? Are we going to do paid ads? Are we going to do call blocks? It really shouldn't be that hard. If you know who your customers are, we need to basically build a list. We know who we can help. We know what the benefits are. Let's build that list. Let's call the list. And let's email the list to set up meetings. And this is particularly pertinent when you are an account executive doing full cycle work. Because I've been in both roles doing outbound SDR work where you're comped on the meetings. Can you set a quality meeting? You're not comped on close one, but can you book a meeting and have it be qualified? But when you're in charge of closing revenue, you can't just book anyone and everyone. You got to book the deals that can close. Let's dig in a little bit deeper here. And for a quick background, why bother listening to me? Well, I've done it before. I like to ask advice from people who've been there, done that, like Bilal. And he was one of my mentors growing up here, but he really helped me back in 2020 and 2021 when I moved into outbound sales. So I've created many, many opportunities and closed a good percentage of them. So how do we find these opportunities? How do we find these people to talk to? That's what we're going to cover here in just a second. So I really see it as 3 different buckets when it comes to self-sourcing revenue. I know we're talking a lot about cold outbound, and that's what I want to end with. But as a full cycle account executive, where you have to book your own meetings, what's the lowest hanging fruit? Where can we find easier revenue? And where can we generate outside the box ideas to get some more revenue? So let's start with the inbound database, and can we start there with some people you've already talked to? So when it comes to inbound calling, because it is different than outbound calling from what I've seen, and feel free to steal these scripts. I'll share them after the meeting and the presentation. But it's not as complicated as you think. For a quick background, I used to think that cold calling, you had to do deep discovery, build pain, find a reason for somebody to take a meeting with you on the call. It can be tricky to do that when you catch somebody when they weren't expecting you. So I flipped my script around and made it a lot easier. And it's as simple as, hey, it's Luke calling from Reveal. Does that name ring a bell? Or a company? Insert your company there. And you're going to get a yes or a no. And all we're doing here, to keep it simple, is just building decision trees. Did we get a yes? What are the set of questions we can ask after that? Or did we get a no? And how can we take that back to the yes? So in the simplest terms, if they know who we are, great. I was hoping to book a quick call to maximize value in your account. That's vague enough that they'll be curious, but you're at least offering something. And the beauty of this is, can we option close at the end here? So how's tomorrow at 2 or 3 o'clock? they're going to 90% of the time pull up their calendar and say, yeah, I'm available at 3. And you can lock down that invitation. And that gets into the second part of this, which is, what do you do after you have that meeting booked? And this is where I see so many things go wrong, because you've done the work, you've called, and now you've gotten them to agree to a meeting, but can we confirm that they're going to show up? And that's where we start getting into these later options. So let's confirm that their email address is correct. Yes, it is lruffing@reveal.co. Yep, I did get your invite. And so would you mind accepting that for me? And then we'll have a chat later on. And if they have time, if it doesn't feel like they're rushed, you do have their attention. There is the potential for you guys to qualify further. So I saw these things that were going on in your account. How are you solving for that today? What's your plan to do XYZ? You can ask these types of questions to qualify further after you have the meeting booked. You don't necessarily have to keep building value to get to the meeting. Get the meeting first. And then once you're done with that, the best time to book a meeting is right after you booked a meeting. You want to keep the momentum going, keep stringing multiple connects, multiple meetings in a row. I think that even goes back to what Bilal was talking about, doing these team prospecting sessions. If you can start to feel the momentum, you can start to build this moving forward. You have a much better chance of booking more meetings and creating more pipeline. But circling back, prioritization. Who do we call? Because we were talking about building the list, calling the list. Well, who are we going to call? With the simplest terms, if you're a full cycle account executive, you're trying to close deals so you can make money. Who was the closest to buying without actually purchasing? It's probably your list of close lost deals. So when you're in cycle, take notes on why you lost a deal. Was it because a feature was missing that you guys had on the roadmap? Did a round of funding come up? Was there a new hire starting? Figure out what these signals are and keep that list of accounts handy for you to call back later on. And then you can prioritize the rest of your leads after that. New inbound signups, longtime product users, referrals, and then cold accounts, which we'll get into in just a bit here. But that's how I prioritize my day, is who's the closest to closing, what was their blocker, and do we have a solution for it now? Using that same call script 2 slides ago. So we're talking a lot about outbound cold calling, but not everybody picks up the phone. So are there ways to get people's attention outside of the phone? And we talk a lot about LinkedIn, but email still works if you nail relevance. And so there is a difference between relevance and personalization. It drives me nuts because most people think personalization is talking about something you have in common. You went to the same college. You worked at the same job. Your buddy knows somebody. And it's not what relevance is. That's just personalized. What is relevance is getting oriented. Who's in charge of the project or pain point that we can help solve for? Add a little bit of context. And this is real world examples of what I use day in and day out. Working with a couple partners who want to do lead sharing. And then one thing, just a little psychological play, but the flip from asking for a yes, do you have time for a meeting? Can we get something on the calendar? To the flip side, would it be a bad idea to discuss? Would you be opposed to jumping on a meeting? It plays a little bit of psychology and gives the prospect the feeling of power. They feel like they can say no. And that leads to a lot. And it leads to a lot of credibility. So when it comes to emails, write it like a text message. Make it easy to read. Break up the lines and make sure that it's relevant to the right person you guys know how to sell to. So that's what I would talk about on inbound. The other thing I wanted to share as part of this is the copy that's been working the best and leading to the most close won deals for me is literally this email here. Who's in charge of XYZ for you? Saw a couple of areas where we might be able to add some value with your partners. And no lie, 9 out of 10 responses are, hey, please work with name who's CC'd. That's in charge of partnerships or that is in charge of sales. and they'll add a little bit more context. You're just trying to route to the right person who can solve or benefits from the solution you guys are offering, and you can book a meeting from there. So these are the sort of stuff that's working for me on the phone scripts, the email scripts on inbound. But we're still talking about revenue in doing prospecting. One key thing you might be able to take advantage of is referrals. This will be short, but it's simple, not easy. Anytime you have a conversation with someone, anytime you provide some value, what we really want to be looking at is who else could benefit from that same value. And these are the questions I like to ask on calls. And would you be open to CCing me on an email to them? Because that validates and uses the trust you built up and the trust they have with their partner or the other person they recommend your solution to get a foot in the door. We're trying to make this a warm introduction as possible. And that's the beauty of going through the referrals. The other side on referrals is after you close a customer is putting them on a cadence strip. Use reply to 1 month after they've signed. Just send an email out saying, how's the implementation been going? Is there anything I can help with? And who else do you know that could benefit from what you guys have seen as a part of this? You're building a referral network that keeps the leads coming in, and you're able to run your own full cycle role agency and keep the pipeline filled. You have more people to meet with than you have time to meet with them. Those are some of the benefits you can get from the referral network. So that's what it looks like to do inbound prioritization for me. Then referrals from current customers. The next thing I want to touch on is how do I do cold outbound? And a lot of it comes back to targeting. Remember that list at the beginning? Who are we going to be reaching out to? Obviously, you should know who your ideal buyer is, but could we get some deeper info on the 3% of buyers that are in market today? Can we talk to the right person with the right problem at the right time? Those are some of the things that we might be able to uncover here. And so one area that's a little bit different, I've been experimenting with over the last year and a half, is using some partner information on top of the other data you can get out there. We all know about the intents and job changes, funding rounds, and other signals, but are there partner signals as well? And so that's where we might be able to build a list of target accounts. We know who we can sell to, but we want to see which partners they're attached to. So figure out which partners or contacts you guys want to reach out to. Figure out who is involved in the initiatives with your partner. So who are the deal influencers? And then we can ask the partner for some help. And we're trying to make this easier. If this is a strategic account, we need to land this. Let's get all the answers to the test that we can. And it can be as simple as asking your partner, Luke, I saw you close reply last year. I'm looking to talk to their CEO about the priority on the marketing side. We have a joint value prop. It's going to resonate. Is there anything you can share about your experience working with them? Was procurement a blocker? What's the initiative they have going on? Is this something that we actually have a chance of finding an initiative on? And then add a little bit of value at the bottom. So that's how I prioritize lists and targets. It's not just the intent data and ICP, but can partners help me out a little bit and make my life easier? When it comes to true cold calling, though, once I have this data and we know who to talk to, a shout out to Justin Michael, but this is the script I use on cold calls. It's not, hey, can I get 30 seconds of your time? I know this is a cold call. Let's get right to relevance. This is how I run things. Is who's in charge of your X strategy? Partnership, sales, marketing. Insert what you guys solve for at the beginning here. And the prospect will say real quick, either I'm in charge or Justin's in charge or Max is in charge. You're going to be able to get to the right person with this routing strategy. If you find the right person, you got to build a little bit of pain. How's that solution working out for you? Do you guys have somebody in place? And keep following them down the rabbit hole for 2 or 3 questions to see if there is a problem. And then this line has landed me so many meetings because it's low risk on their side. why not plug us in alongside your current solution to multiply the effectiveness of what you guys are trying to get as a benefit? Get what you can, and then make it easy for them to say yes to a meeting. That's what cold outbound calling looks like to me. And it's repeatable, and I've used it to book tons of meetings. And then another quick example of an outbound spear, this short email, I've got 2 minutes left here before I get tapped out, is can we make it tight with the context we got from our partners? I used to work with Jan, who's a partner, and he works over there now. You're starting up the tech program. I got a couple of ideas on how we can help you achieve your goals in your role. And then that negative ask again, would it be a crazy idea to discuss? This got a response within 15 minutes of sending it. Nice book meeting. Take these types of spears and relevance and implement them with your own verbiage and what you guys solve for. And that is what I have when it comes to mastering outbound tactics as an AE. Fill your pipeline with deals that can close. So happy to toss it back over here to Josh and Max and everybody else who's coming up after me. But that is how I run outbound and inbound and create pipeline for myself. Alrighty.
That was super exciting, Luke. Thank you so much. What is your favorite tactic?
Favorite tactic? Who's the right person in charge? We solve for it.
Sorry, say it again.
Oh, sorry, I cut out there. It's the route, ruin, multiply tactic. That cold calling script of who's in charge of XYZ. What's the problem you're facing today? How's it working for you?
Does it work the same for different audiences? Any insights here?
It does, actually. So I've sold to sales personas. It worked really well with them. I've sold to VCs. Worked well in Sequoia. I've sold to others, decision makers, marketing and partnerships, and they still pick up and say, yes, I am in charge of XYZ initiative. So give it a try. They might just say, yep, I'm the person to talk to.
That really good to know that there are still proven tactics that work despite of anything happening on the market. Thank you so much, Luke.
Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.